And I didn't want you to get nervous or scare you because we do have a 2-hour time frame for the meeting, but I am not planning to need the entire 2 hours, but we may run over the first hour. And if we do, hey, we're going to try to move as swiftly as we can. All right.
I rarely like to go longer than an hour.
But tonight we may a little bit. All right. I would like to do introductions, and I would like to, we have some changes in our commission. So we'd like to kind of acknowledge that first.
And we have some guests too, so I think some introductions are in order.
Yeah. So first, Edward Shaham is not here. He has resigned from the commission. Rebecca Hajosi. Rebecca, are you here? No?
Not apparent.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm here, Mary.
Here.
Oh, good. Okay. Rebecca,
I was just on mute.
Okay. Rebecca, this is probably Rebecca's last meeting because Rebecca has joined the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission. And as the rules state, you cannot be a member of 2 commissions. We do have connections, and Rebecca, feel free. Issues come up, you are always welcome to join this group as a guest and to speak and be heard, to participate in discussion. Please know that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to miss you guys. I was 6 years, so I think that I'm only allowed to be on each commission for 6 years. So my term expired, and it's a nice move for me to move over to the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission. It was funny because last month we couldn't have our meetings. We didn't have a quorum. So they have some of the similar issues that we have with the Disability Commission. But I'm going to miss you guys and all the good work that we do for the people of West Hartford. And so I thought I'd sit in on the last meeting just so I could say goodbye to everybody. And Andy's here. I wanted to say goodbye to all the people that I regularly see at all the meetings. So
we are very glad you're with us.
Yeah.
Now we have two guests tonight who I am hoping may decide in the near future to become members of the commission. Is Jennifer Cowett? Is Jennifer here?
I am here. I'm Jennifer Cowett. Nice to meet you.
Here. Okay.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for including me.
You're most welcome.
And the other guest we have tonight is Kim Gren. And Joe, would you like to?
Yeah, Jennifer is, as I've told, she's a professor of special education at St. Joe's. At St. Joe's, yes, St. Joseph's University. And Kim is a former colleague of mine who has 2 children who are on the spectrum. And that particular perspective has really not been present on our commission. So I asked Kim if he'd like to join, and of course he has not committed yet, but he's attending this meeting to see what a wonderful place this is and what good work we do. All right. So welcome, Kim. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, if you have any questions during or after, please feel free. Yeah. And now we have 2 other people who are not part of this commission, but I'm going to start with John Slifka, because many moons ago, John was on this commission. Yes. And then after that, from 2014 to 2018, John served as the liaison to the disability community for Governor Malloy. Since 2019, John has been working for the Department of Aging and Disability Services. John chairs the Governor's Committee for the Employment of People with Disabilities. And I was appointed to that commission through John's encouragement and as representative of the blind community. John has recently, congratulations are in order here, because John has recently been appointed to the Connecticut Police Officers Standards and Training Council, Post Council for short. And he will be working along with Chief Riddick, who is already on that council. John chairs the subcommittee for All right, try that again. He chairs the subcommittee for improving interactions with the disabilities community and the police departments. We also have with us Renee McHugh. And Renee, I am surprised how long this is, but since 1988, Renee has been the public relations specialist for the town of West Hartford. And during emergency situations, she acts as our town information officer. Anything you need to know about what needs to go out, Renee knows. She's got more knowledge in that head than it's amazing to me. And I do want to add one thing. I have a terrific remembrance of our working together. It must have been, it was 2011, Renee, when we had the huge snow and ice storm. And everybody remembers that because we all lost power for either a week or 2 weeks. And it was about a week before that storm. We just happened to do an emergency preparedness program on WHC TV. It was an hour call-in with our police chief, fire chief, everybody involved in emergency management. It was a great show, went fine, and then a week later, poof, everything went out. And it was like dress rehearsal for what was to come. We're nearing the end of this pandemic, but we do have, it has brought some issues that I think we all need to address. But we're not there yet. We're going to get there. Yep, we are.
Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
So next is approval of minutes from January 11th. Everyone was distributed, everyone who was in a commission. Does anybody have any comments on the January 11th meeting minutes? Someone want to move to accept them then?
Will someone please make a motion to accept the minutes?
Anybody?
Hello?
Hello.
I make a motion
Rebecca.
to accept the minutes.
Someone second.
That was Ann.
I'm not sure I can I'm not sure if I have authority since I'm not on the
Sure you
commission.
do.
No, she doesn't.
Oh, she's already off the
She's
commission?
off the commission. Yes,
Oh,
she
all
doesn't.
right.
I'm sorry. Ann, was that you who made the
Yes,
motion?
she did.
Okay, will someone
Yep, that
please
was me.
second it?
This is Amy and I'll second it.
Thank you.
Amy, I'm sorry. I hate to say this, but you can't. Oh, yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Get your act together, man.
Must I? Okay.
And so, Amy, are you on
Thank
the
you,
commission
Amy.
now?
So,
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Rebecca, nice to see you.
Yeah. So Amy and I did some stuff at Duffy Elementary together back in the day.
You did.
Yeah.
We
it's small
didn't
town.
introduce her. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm falling down. Amy, yes, Amy was just appointed. So you two knew each other back in the day?
We did.
Yeah, well, I can't remember what the name of our commission. I mean, we did volunteer coordinating for the Duffy Fair. That's
Yeah.
what we did.
Yeah, and family nights. We did some work with some family nights at Duffy.
Yeah. Can you believe my daughter's graduating from high school this year, Amy?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. That's exciting.
Yeah.
This is,
Good seeing you.
You
this
as
is
well.
like Humphrey Bogart in, one in, one out from Casablanca. One in, one out. Okay.
Oh.
All right. So is everyone all opposed? Everyone in favor of accepting the minutes?
Please say aye.
Ask everybody. Okay.
Everybody, please. We do have to
Aye.
stick to parliamentary procedure,
Yes.
like it or not. I'm sorry, but we do.
And then
Thank
next
you.
on the agenda is a staff report from Suzanne Oslander.
Good evening, everyone. It's so good to see you.
Good evening, Suzanne.
I thought that I would take just a couple minutes to share with you some information about the food pantry and how it's changed over the last year. So before the pandemic started, the food pantry had a very small home food delivery program. And as you can imagine, every time you turn the news on or you read the paper, you hear about the significant impact that the pandemic has had when it comes to people accessing food. And so one of the things we did in response to that is we really bolstered our home food delivery program. We've worked with the residential coordinators at several of the senior housing sites in town. But we've also just increased access to people when it comes to this issue. So we have delivered food to people who have had COVID and can't get to the grocery store, people who lack transportation and just can't get to town hall. And for those of you who may not know this, we have been distributing food outside of town hall for almost a year. We collect food donations outside, and we also distribute a few times a week. And while that's actually been very helpful for many residents who have disabilities, because we're doing it curbside and volunteers and staff are just putting it directly into people's cars, there are a lot of people that weren't comfortable taking the bus to get to us or just can't get to us for whatever reason. Could be a number of things. We've gotten referrals from the health district letting us know about people who are immunocompromised or, again, who have COVID. So some of those deliveries have been one-time deliveries, but right now we have over 70 individuals that we are assisting, and many of them do have disabilities. And actually, before I came here, before being on the meeting tonight, one of the volunteer coordinators and I were talking about this, and we have 3 more people who are going to be joining that particular program, and we'll be able to get them food that they may not otherwise be able to get. The other thing we've been doing is helping people navigate online purchase of food, because a year ago, not a lot of people got their food that way. But this has really opened the door for many people who didn't think about this as an option. And so that's another area that we've been assisting residents in. I also want to mention one other program. It's a partnership that we have with Food Share and St. James Episcopal Church. We've been doing this for at least 5 years, maybe longer. But we operate a program called Commodity Supplemental Food Program, or CSFP. And once a month, food is delivered by Food Share to St. James Church for distribution. People have to register for this program, and it is for individuals who are 60, and it's a low-income program. And so we run this program a little differently than most communities. When we started it, we had a conversation about how we could reach people who really can't come to town hall. And so the majority of residents who receive food through this program do so by delivery. So I actually want to just take a moment to acknowledge St. James Episcopal Church for their generosity and their volunteers, because they have been delivering food to the majority of people who benefit from the CSFP program. And it's a great program that gives people, again, that extra nutrition that's just so important that many people don't have access to. So those are the 2 programs that I just wanted to mention. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have. No questions? Okay, I'm done. Can move on to the next thing.
Since Joe and I provided a letter, would you just mention that to the commission? The letter in support.
Because it came from the commission.
Right. The commission sent a letter to Helen Rubino Turco, who is the Director of Social and Leisure Services, encouraging CDBG funds to continue to be used for creating accessibility in the parks. For example, a number of times I've come on the calls and I've told you about different things that we're doing in the parks. And I think right now we're working at Hunter House to improve accessibility to the entrance door there. So that's something that we're working on. So Joe and Mary did send a letter to Helen saying that we want that to continue.
Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Any questions or comment about that? No? All right.
So I'll do
old business.
Yeah, old business was the recruitment of commission members. We currently have 7 out of 11 members, and we had 6, but of course now we have Amy as a commission member, so we have 7 out of 11. And we wish to have more. We like to fill up all the spots of 11 members, and of course Jennifer and Kim are here in relation to those efforts. And Mary also took some action.
Yes.
Okay, Mary, you're on deck.
Okay. Yeah, I've spoken to quite a few people, and we put the word out because we do need some new members. So I've spoken with Essie LeBreau, spoken with Leon Davidoff, who may still make it tonight, but
Another 7 o'clock meeting.
he let us know there was a caucus that was called at 7 o'clock, so we may or probably will not see him, but it's possible. So I also spoke with Amy Barzak, and as you all know, Amy Barzak, Amy and Ronit Shoham, the two women, they are powerhouse, fantastic women, and they built the Miracle Field, which John can tell you a lot about, and our Jonathan's Dream, the inclusive playground that we have. And they do know a lot of people in the disabilities community and a lot of families. So I wanted to put the word out to them. I also spoke with Ronnie Newton, and Ronnie put the word out online, on WeHa, and also through West Hartford Press. So any of you, though, if you know if you know
someone who may be interested and is, appropriate for our commission, and I think, the requirements. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but there are also political requirements. We have to have a balance between the two parties. And then people like me screw it up because I'm not affiliated. But
we can have undeclared and independent. Yes, we can.
So we really would like to have the full 11 members. And we're, with some attrition, we certainly don't want to have at least enough members to have a quorum. So we can, actually accomplish some things. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Okay.
Does anybody have any comments on that?
Or questions?
Questions?
I'll just comment that I would love to formally join. So if you would let me know how I could take next steps, please do.
Yeah,
I understand this might not be the correct forum, but I've really enjoyed participating.
Send a letter requesting that you become a member to Essie LeBreau, and we can give you that contact information. Not this minute, but we'll email it to you.
Yeah, and maybe we can email tomorrow, either after this meeting or tomorrow. All right.
And I guess you have to let her know your political affiliation also, because that's supposed to be balanced. But that's about it. And then we'll let you know, and then you can be a recipient of the secret handshake.
Ooh.
And the password.
And the password, yes.
Whoa, okay.
Oh, very exciting. Thank you.
No, thank you. That's wonderful.
We're glad to hear it,
Jennifer. Your community represented. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Renee. I have an idea too. Most recently, we are recruiting members for 2 newly formed commissions, advisory groups, and we've through social media and my email listserv distribution of my subscribers to Town of West Hartford News, we've generated a lot of interest for the new sustainability advisory group, as well as the Citizen Police Review Board. So I would be happy to send information about this group also through those types of
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Things I would need is, what is your mission? What do you hope to accomplish, so we can generate some real interest in who you are and what you stand for, and
we have a press release ready to go.
Yeah.
Terrific. Oh, wonderful. So send it my way and I'll see what I can do.
We will do that, Renee. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
All right, shall we move on to the main topic of the evening?
Yes.
I didn't forget.
Unless anybody has anything else.
Yeah.
For old business, recruitment of members.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Since our major topic is outreach, communication, and awareness of resources, I know transportation still continues to be a barrier for people with disabilities. And quite frankly, I'm sitting here agreeing with Suzanne, because I realize, I'm just going to put it out there. if I were living alone, as I did at one time, I'm legally blind. I do not drive. Thinking, well, you're going to take the ADA van to get over to town hall. You can't count on when, how long. There's a limit to how much you can take with you on the van. It becomes an issue. Yeah, who's going to put the food on the van? You get into other issues that make it a lot more complicated than just having somebody be able to put some food in the trunk of your car. Did you ever try to, you'd have to get a ride with somebody, and during COVID, nobody wanted to risk that. I recently declined to participate in a volunteer activity because I would have had to be in a car with someone who was much younger than I and not had their vaccination. They seem like very small, unrelated things, and yet they can turn into one much larger thing. You're not going to take an Uber to go to town hall to get your food. It gets complicated. So, and I know that is going to be, that will come up. But so transportation is always there. But as I said in what we sent, what Joe and I sent out to all of you, the two questions that came up repeatedly. First of all, how do people get onto the database? Renee answered that, and we did that successfully, Renee, and I shared it with everybody on the commission, so thank you. But I am wondering, how does everybody find that out? Because at a certain point, we all make assumptions of, well, people already know, the word's out. And yet, how often, where, when, how often do we get information out to people? I just want to see something else because I don't want to forget. No, I mean, that really is the crux of it. How do we get the word out? And again, since our ways of finding information have changed over this past year, the places that we would normally congregate, we no longer have to congregate. We will again, but that has made it complicated. So I'd like to open it up, and I'd like to have you, Renee, have you start, and then John is going to join in, and we can kind of build the discussion from there. All right.
Through that email subscriber service, as I mentioned, the power of email, where you get information and it sparks your interest, and you can just so very easily pass it on to somebody. So a lot of new subscribers come from somebody who received the email forwarded to them, as simple as that. So I didn't realize that you had this. How do I sign up? And at the bottom of the email is where you can sign up. And periodically, I will also send out a message to all those subscribers, asking people to invite their family and friends if they hadn't known that this service exists. And then through social media, the Town of West Hartford is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So same kinds of information would be spread through those kind of channels too, inviting people to either join as subscribers or to follow those social media platforms. Okay. Anything else?
John, would you like to chime in and follow up?
I think one of the all so within the disability community, that's the deaf community, that's the I should say the deaf and hard of hearing community, it's the blind and visually impaired community, and being particularly cognizant of that with any live and real-time communications that might be done, whether it's a press conference, does her phone calls, but that also is partnered, I think, with an email that has her message. So I think it's just being cognizant of those communities as well, and and also those that don't use social media, the internet, whatever it is. Again, just that your message or your methods of communication are as accessible to as many people as possible. I know at the state level, we hear a lot of concerns, particularly from the deaf community, on how messaging is communicated in times of crisis, and certainly throughout this pandemic. A little bit with the excuse me, the blind as well, but the deaf community has been particularly active in making sure that their needs are met to communication. So that's all I have, Mary.
Well, now this, Suzanne, yeah, would you like to comment further about some of the ways that you've seen people communicate in order to find out about vaccine? Well, anything, but vaccine clinics, the food programs that the town is running. Would you like to comment?
Well, how have people gotten in touch with you who need home distribution for the food? You know, if you've got some people who are unable to come by or to town hall, how has that message been gotten out?
So we've worked with the schools. The schools actually have a resource page that when the pandemic started, they put together, and we were listed on that site for various services. But in addition to that, the library served as an information source, and they had all sorts of resources available. And I know, Renee, you probably were responsible in working and getting the word out to direct people to the website and also to the telephone number so that people would have access to that information. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, so we had a team of, library staff that would man the telephone when the town hall the town hall building was closed. It still is kind of 50% capacity. And so we would make sure that they had the latest information on what was happening. And most recently, as it was 2 weeks ago, they are now operating as a vaccine information line. When the cohort of 65 and older were eligible for their vaccine, it was impossible and difficult to register through the CDC VAN system. You had to have an email, and if you're 95, my aunt is 93 years old, she doesn't have an email, she doesn't have a cell phone. These are all requirements to be eligible to look for a clinic. So after that 2 to 3 week period of seeing how complicated it was just to look and sign up for your vaccine, we instituted this information line just to be able to, as kind of like an intake or like a triage, to hear what people are encountering, and then get them to the source of information within a 24-hour period. They have some kind of resolution for them. And while we are unable to actually register them, at least we can guide them through the process. And you would think with the younger generation of 55 and older that it would get a little bit better, but it has not gotten a whole lot better. It has not, because now we have 600,000 people in the state of Connecticut in that age group looking for a place to get a vaccine, and we're all competing for places, and there's just no vaccine. There's just not enough at this point in time. We'll get there hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We'll get there just in time for the 45-year-old people
yes.
to enter.
The real youngsters.
Yeah, and then not too long after that, 35 plus. So the key word here is patience, But we have a really great group of people at the town of West Hartford who are just stand ready to help in any way that they can. And we do have a mobile vaccination program that also started a couple of weeks ago. And for those folks who just can't get out, transportation reasons, they have mobility issues, we have a very simple form for them to fill out, and we send out a registered nurse and a paramedic to the person's home, and we will vaccinate you. If it requires two shots, we'll be back in a month. But this has proved to be a terrific service, and we've had over 100 people vaccinated this way so far. And as the age group continues to drop, we will continue to serve those new, younger populations going forward.
Renee, that ARCH program, I think, is fantastic. Yeah. That is a huge, that's a life-saving effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it takes a lot of people from all different, walks of life, and it's not even in your lane, but you just do it anyway, right? We all pitch in, and it's like stone soup. Everybody pitches in, and we create something that's going to work for everybody. Yeah.
I just wanted to comment too, if people go to the homepage, if you go to the website and you go on the homepage under COVID-19, and you click on that, there's a lot of information, including if you need transportation. I think ITN is listed there as a resource for people.
Yes, they are.
So, that's a really great resource too. I think, I know Renee, and I think it's Renee, you've been doing it, is just updating that information, or maybe it's IT, I'm not sure, but there's a lot of information there that I think has been really very, very helpful. In addition to that, in social services, we've also worked with, again, some of the senior housing sites in town, working with the residential coordinators, getting information out to them, making sure that they know about the resources that are available in social services. And obviously that includes the food pantry, but also anything like the vaccinations as well. So you had asked for additional areas that we've reached out to, and certainly that's a resource. The housing authority is another one, making sure that they have the information as well. So those are some of the areas. We also have continued to operate the Hillcrest Neighborhood Center, or HANIC. We have a program coordinator over there. It's modified hours, and she meets with people outside of the center. And so that has been another way where we have been able to reach out to people in that neighborhood and make sure that they've gotten information that's been given out in other ways.
Are any of you aware of any great lack of information? I guess the whole issue came up for this meeting because of COVID, because of the traditional sources of information, like the senior centers are closed. The people would go to the senior centers just talking amongst each other, and the bulletin boards and so forth, and that stuff's not available. Obviously, West Hartford does a good job in getting the word out. Is anybody aware of anything that's lacking? We're an advisory commission. Should we be talking to someone and advising them to be doing something?
I think that there's, I have a couple of clients that they're very confused because they're disabled, and they keep calling because they don't have computers to get, and they just don't get through. And they're like, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm saying, well, I hear that you just have to keep calling every day. You have to call. But it's confusing to them because they feel like they're doing something wrong. That's one. And then I also registered one of my clients for that mobile unit, maybe 2 days after it came out. And I got a little number, and they've never called back. The mobile unit has never called back. So she's since passed away. She passed away about a week ago. So she didn't even have an option. She was 94, and I thought she'd be kind of at the top of the list, but nobody ever responded to us. And she was homebound. So she didn't, but I guess in hindsight, maybe it's better that somebody else took her shot because she didn't make it. But that was scary too, because she's homebound and we didn't have any kind of correspondence.
Well, it's been difficult even for us youngsters because I know I spent a number of days waiting on the phone Well, I went online many times, only to say that there were no times available. And several times I was on the phone for 45 minutes waiting to talk to someone, only to have that someone tell me that they couldn't help me today. So it's been frustrating, like I said, even for people that supposedly have a little more, less frustrations and a little more capabilities. But fortunately, we did get scheduled.
Only
And
by
not on the
accident.
COVID side, but it's something very similar it's the idea that the people that need the stimulus money, they have to file the tax return. That's really confusing for a lot of people too. The idea that in order to get the stimulus money, the past stimulus money, if you didn't file a return, you have to file this year's return to get the retroactive stimulus money.
Mm.
So I don't know. I feel like the tax services for the town of West Hartford were limited this year because of COVID. So there wasn't as much. You couldn't get an appointment unless you'd had a previous appointment in prior years or something, and it kind of it's making it more difficult for tax services.
Now, if I understand right, that's done through the senior centers, correct?
I think so. I think that they're at the Elmo Community Center and the one up in Bishop's Corner.
Bishop's Corner. Yeah.
Like
Renee, do you know anything about that in terms of communication there to get that word out to people? Are you aware of any word that?
tax preparation assistance?
Yeah.
With this, maybe Suzanne knows too. I don't know. I think because the senior centers are closed, that service is not available. I would think that's, yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think you may be right, Renee.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly it would be far more limited. I don't know if people are getting assisted remotely, if there's a program. The one thing I always do too is I try to remind everyone that one of the things that you can always encourage people to do is to call 211, because that's, I think we forget about that sometimes, but we should be promoting 211 as a resource for people, because when they call that, they can either speak with somebody or you can go online as well. But it's really, there's so much information that you can get by contacting 211, including the tax preparation. That might be something where, people can be redirected. There may be other programs that are in place that would be replacing the ones that are no longer being able to serve the residents.
And if I remember correctly, that was a group of volunteers from AARP that performed that service through the senior center.
Yeah, that's kind of what I remember. I wasn't sure. Renee, as in terms of all the things that the town has been doing, is there any area where you've looked at it and said, well, we could improve it, we could change it, but we're not really sure how to go about it yet? Are there any problem areas for you as you see it?
So any problem areas for communication wise?
Yeah, communication wise. So let people know what's there.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned in the chat, Kim did, that you have to tell people 9 different times before a message actually gets through. And just to build on that, you have to tell them 9 different ways the same message. So I see we got West Hartford Community Interactive. That's a great resource. That's one video, way of tuning into your local TV to hear that message. You could have it on, your social media feed. You could receive it by email. You might receive a message from our mayor. You might receive a text message. These are all the same message, but served up a variety of different ways. And, but nothing beats the one-on-one, face-to-face, which we all miss so much. It's that human interaction and sharing of information that will get you to a commission like this and make you care about things and want to do things for your community. And we've missed that so much. And so I think the answer to what's missing is us. So, but hopefully that will get better in the months ahead.
I'm sure as we get back out there and things open up, it will change again. I think we've been looking at this past year as, okay, what have we learned from it? What did we do to communicate with people about resources? What really went well? And there were a lot of things, obviously, that did go very well. And West Hartford does an amazingly terrific job at that. But you still look to where could we do better? We hope this doesn't happen again, but if it does, or any other there's lots of different, there's hurricanes, there's snowstorms, ice storms, there's lots of power grids go out. There's horrible things that happen. It's funny because I was just thinking too, everybody has a phone. And even whether it's a smartphone or an old flip phone or your landline, any kind of smartphone, everybody's got a phone. So that seems to me, as you said, different a number of times, different ways to get the message out there. People would tend to receive it. But I don't know, we were thinking too, our places of worship were closed. Everything's been like this on Zoom or WebEx. All the places you would find written material, including the senior centers and town hall and churches, synagogues, and mosques, supermarkets, restaurants. They haven't been there. They're not in your doctor's office. They're not anywhere in a public place. Word of mouth is always helpful because, again, that's face to face, but we haven't had enough of that either this year. Well, we couldn't. And I'm just thinking of some of because we always assume social media because we all have to deal with it every day. And yet I know I see it too. The older people get, and if you add disability and age, the less in touch many people become, or it just gets to be too daunting. I swear, if they make the constructions to do things online any more complicated, it's like every time I turn around, you have to do it differently, or they've added another step. It's so frustrating. And I guess that's why this whole thing came up. How are we getting the information that we need in a way that is timely and useful? And is there anything else that we can do? Or anything that we're doing that we might tweak a little and do a little differently?
I guess one of the concerns that we talked about was there's so many opportunities to get information, but some of them you have to register for. And do people even know that they can register for them? And I mean, I don't know. I don't have any brilliant ideas, but with COVID, there is this big void of communication that used to be there. And I think, the elderly community and people with disabilities are at a greater disadvantage than those of us who are youngsters and not
don't have some of the challenges.
Especially disabled. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess nobody else is going to say.
I almost feel like the clergyman who was given the sermon and everybody, you could see him in the first row nodding off like, was I that boring? Or the teacher who's talking to the wall because nobody's saying anything. You're probably all thinking about things, but we'd love it if you would share them out loud, please.
Maybe one of the things we could partner on is putting a flyer together with the information on how to register for some of these things, and we could distribute them through social services. For example, anyone that comes to the food pantry, we could do it in Spanish and in English and maybe another language or something, so that we hand this out to people who are coming for other services. Just because they found us for the food pantry doesn't necessarily mean they know that where other resources are. And certainly when the mayor has given out important information, they may not have their telephones registered for something like that.
Right.
They may not think about going on the website. So that's something that maybe it could be very, very simple, but maybe that's something we work on when time permits. And again, it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's something that we could give out to everybody that we see that come. And the same thing for HANIC. It could be also something we give out to residents that live in that neighborhood. And that probably would be very helpful.
Anyone that comes
Because
for
that, as
anything
you
else.
know, is an isolated area.
Anyone that comes for anything else could get some kind of information on, I mean, just like you say, simple, just contact information for different issues. That's a great idea. We could work on that.
We could.
Yeah, we'll even work on that, Suzanne.
Sounds good.
We'll work on that and see how it goes. We'll get it off to you and see what you think.
I'm aware of many indoor bulletin boards around town, but I've never paid much attention to outdoor bulletin boards, you know, any that are in glass cases by town hall or libraries. Is anyone aware of any of those, and how do they exist? And if so, I mean, that would be another wonderful place for the flyer that you're describing to go. And I guess if they don't exist,
What I'm aware of is in
they
libraries.
should.
A lot of those places are closed too. The first thing that came to my mind, not in behind glass, but the library. There's always.
I was thinking of an out, because of course the inside of the buildings are closed, but I know in other communities
outside,
there are outdoor bulletin boards that would still be accessible to anyone who's just walking by the building as opposed to going inside the building.
You know, I don't remember.
I don't recall seeing any ever.
Yeah, even before COVID. Do you? Does anybody?
So sometimes
That's a great question.
Supermarkets will have a community bulletin board that you could post things on, and everybody.
But it's inside.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
everybody goes inside the grocery store. Yeah.
They do.
Oh, that's true. That's
They
true.
weren't
I'm
closed.
sorry. Yeah,
They weren't closed.
They weren't closed. I'm sorry.
So maybe that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe Ron can digest this stuff and we can bring it up next time to see if anybody's come up with any brilliant ideas.
Well,
Because we're sitting here now.
you want to?
Well, yeah, I just thought we're all just sort of sitting here now. So maybe we could bring this topic up next time to, see if anybody has come up with any bright ideas and other than Suzanne's, and we can move forward on that one. So unless anybody has anything else, I suppose we should just consider adjournment for this meeting. Unless anybody has anything else they want to speak of. The silence tells me no one does.
Before we adjourn, though, we have several new people here tonight, and I'm not going to put you on the spot. You're going to go ahead.
I just want to see who's here.
Yeah. Forgive me. I'm used to, when I look on Zoom, you've got your array of pictures in front of you and you can make them large enough. I don't use a screen reader talking to me. I'm used to looking at enlarged pictures through my Zoom text. And on WebEx, it doesn't work the same way. And you have tiny pictures and I can't see who's who because I am relying on vision, not on hearing. So that's why Joe and I are like scrambling together here. But for the people who are with us tonight visiting and for our newest members, are you, I'd love to hear from some of you, what drew you to this commission and what maybe one of the things that you're hoping or interested in that we already do, or some of the things that you're interested in because of your connection, whether it be personal or professional or both. And I would share, for me, it was personal and professional. Having being partially sighted, legally blind, and I'm a speech and language pathologist by profession. Retired now, but nonetheless worked in the schools for more than 40 years and witnessed a lot of struggle with kids and struggle with families. And that's what drew me to wanting to do this. And I'd like to know from some of you what drew you in with your interest in this commission.
I can go. My background is much more than being Matthew and Zachary's dad. Okay, my degree is actually in mass communication and journalism. In fact, I worked in public broadcasting for 31 years. So at least on the communication end, I feel I can add something to this group. Then, of course, there's the experience with my sons through the Focus Center for Autism. And I also worked a little bit with the village on a community advisory board. So I have some background in this. I've also done some fundraising and some other work for nonprofits. So I've got some nonprofit experience.
Yeah, that's tremendous background.
I have found, because Mary's lived in West Hartford a long time, but I've found that we have done some things in the past couple of years that are, I think, significant. We had were effective in having the police department put in touch with some people who could help them with their module on dealing with the blind community.
Oh, their training center.
Their training programs, yes.
Yes.
And so we've done some things, but one thing that I've noticed is West Hartford is a very, very proactive community. And so I enjoy being on the commission, but we don't have a lot of heavy lifting to do. A lot of the things that we come up with are already being done, and when we do come up with something new, the community responds quickly.
Yeah,
I'm happy to share. So I'm an assistant professor of special education at the University of St. Joseph, and my area of research and practice has to do with transition to adulthood for people with disabilities, specifically people with autism and with intellectual disabilities. And so one thing that really matters to me and that I care very deeply about is living in a community that is accessible, inclusive, and welcoming to everyone. I am a West Hartford resident as well, and so I felt like this was a way that I could sort of lend my expertise, but also something that I'm truly passionate about, and try and live in the kind of community that I want to live in, one that really does value every single resident, and it provides the best quality of life for everyone.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you. I'm so excited to join this commission and very happy to be here tonight with you all. So my background is in elementary education. I taught in Newington for 11 years prior to staying at home with my oldest, who's now a middle schooler. We have 4 kids. My youngest 2 receive pretty intensive special education support, and both have IEPs, and both are here within West Hartford Public Schools. All 4 of our kids are. We're also a foster family with GCF. So that has been a very kind of eye-opening experience for our family. So I think for me, my interest is really in supporting families. I've worked part-time with Great by Eat, which is an organization in town that supports families with young children, and also through equity work within the town of West Hartford Public Schools, their equity, diversity and inclusion committees. And we're really working to kind of include the conversation, or to kind of extend the conversation to special education, children with disabilities, special needs, and kind of supporting them and their families. So I'm interested very much kind of in all components of this work, but thinking too about families with younger children and what that looks like for parents as they navigate schools and kind of, I think, Jennifer, as you said, in terms of that transition to kind of post-secondary and what that looks like as well. And I think within the EDC with West Hartford Public Schools, there's a new initiative called One Community for Equity. And so West Hartford Public Schools are partnering with multiple organizations locally within town that are kind of working on multiple aspects of equity work and awareness. So I think it's exciting that there's a lot happening within that. I think especially as of late, but I also am very impressed with the work that this commission has done. And I didn't mean to not offer suggestions, I think, in that initial part, but I agree that I think it is hard when we don't have those opportunities for those personal connections, because thinking about someone at town hall or at the grocery store, often if there is a person looking for more information, you have someone else there to engage in that one-on-one conversation to supplement what might be available on social media or in a flyer. And in the absence of that, it is certainly a challenge, but I think it's heartening to know that these conversations are happening.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so
All right.
move to
If no one else, John, is there anything that you'd like to add before we adjourn?
John just had to sign off. He said he has an 8 o'clock meeting and it's 2 minutes due.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, if no one else has anything else, I think, will someone move to adjourn? Someone make a motion to adjourn, please? Anne?
This is Andy.
Nick? Come on.
This is Andy. I move to
allowed to
adjourn.
do it, but I'll
Thank
do it.
you, Andy. And a second, please?
This is Ann, I second.
Thank you,
All in
Anne.
favor?
All in favor? Aye?
And
Aye.
Our next
Okay.
meeting is May 3rd at 7 p.m. and I'm presuming it's still going to be on WebEx, but we'll certainly let anybody know if there's anything different. Okay.
Yes, and if you have any questions or comments, we'll speak with Jennifer
Yeah, we'll
and Kim and Amy. Thank you. Welcome. We'll all be in
Good
touch
night, all.
then. Good night. Have a good evening.